Whether it be electric vehicles or green hydrogen, solar is undoubtedly the number one renewable energy source for not only today, but also the future. Nearly 4% of all households in the US now use solar energy. That is over a tenfold increase since this time in 2001, which means that the solar industry is creating millions of jobs, generating billions in revenue, and over the next decade expected to create billions in profits. And although making solar panels in and of itself is not an easy feat, costs for the technology has fell by more than 90% since 2010. This means if you're a solar business that is simply selling solar panels, not only are you witnessing a reduced profit margin, but overall technological competitiveness is also reduced. And because of this rapid saturation in the solar panel market, we need to rapidly invest in new avenues to help reduce the cost of solar installations. Because although panel costs are at decade lows, the installation cost for most households is still too high. And that right there, folks, is why a new major investment opportunity is arising in a technology called microinverters, led by a company by the name of Enphase Energy. On paper, Enphase's new inverter technology revolutionizes the way that we can store and convert solar energy. Not only does it reduce the cost for end users, but increases the return on investment, increases safety, and also reduces the complexity of typical installations. How exactly does Enphase achieve this? What's in store for their near-term future? And how does this all pan out as an investment opportunity for those looking to take advantage of the rapidly growing solar industry? Well, folks, those questions are exactly what I'm going to address in this video. But as usual, folks, before we get into it, make sure to drop me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So to start things off, folks, let's understand exactly what Enphase is trying to accomplish. You see, most households in America install solar using an AC coupled system. Whether you're using a Powerwall-like battery or not, you typically have solar installations on your roof that feed down into a combined junction box and then into a so-called string inverter. This string inverter takes all the energy from your solar panels and converts it to AC that can be used by your households and your AC breaker panel. Because obviously most components within US households use alternating current energy at 120 volts and 60 hertz. And typically the power electronics of such a solar system are centralized, meaning if any one of these solar panels sees a reduced output, the entire array of solar panels is going to also see reduced power. And the sole reason for why this phenomenon happens is the use of a centralized inverter that kind of acts like a bottleneck to all the power that is flowing from your solar roof array. This right here is what a typical Tesla Powerwall competing system, for example, looks like, where you have an energy gateway that is monitoring data, a main panel that fits into your household that communicates to the electric grid, and all your internal components. However, with this kind of system, not only does your energy efficiency drop considerably if you have some sort of shade over any number of your solar panels, but your battery energy storage system can be cycled quite a lot more than it needs to. Because obviously if you're using a centralized inverter, all that power is coming in at one time. Meaning if your battery is fully charged, then that power needs to go somewhere else, typically through a net metering policy and back onto the grid. However, on the flip side, if your battery is not fully charged, then any excess solar is immediately deposited into your battery, typically at the peak power the plant can provide. And not only that, but a common industry-wide concern is the inability to monitor the performance and reliability of individual solar panels. In a traditional solar system, all these panels are combined into one junction, and it is basically impossible to distinguish which solar panel is generating most of the power. This means from an optimization standpoint, it's very difficult for companies and installers to understand the performance and what can be improved to reduce grid dependency. And as the penetration of solar increases rapidly over the next 10 years, going to a point where we potentially go 100% solar, that is going to be a severely important problem to solve. And that right there, folks, is where Enphase's energy system steps in. What these guys have invented is a microinverter, which essentially couples an inverter to every single solar panel on your array. Instead of using one centralized inverter, each solar panel has its own way of transmitting power to your AC panel. This means not only are you increasing the capacity factor of the overall arrays, but you're also increasing the precision of energy that flows into your AC coupled battery system if you have one. This helps you reduce wear and tear on the cells and also increase the uptime of your overall household in case the grid goes down. And that value proposition, folks, is what Enphase Energy has built an entire business around. Not only has this company sold over 63 million units of its inverters, but they've also sold hundreds of thousands of batteries and vehicle-to-home charging systems. Pair that with the software and the in-house networking technology that Enphase runs on its semiconductors creates an extremely high margin, high value, and fast-growing business, which tends to be quite rare to find in today's day and age. This has resulted in Enphase doing more than $2.3 billion in annual revenue last year and producing over $740 million in cash flow from operations. This is all thanks to a gross margin sitting at 40% and an operating margin sitting at 18%, which far beats any other solar installer or solar technology company that is publicly listed. Most companies in the solar industry tend to have negative profit margins with gross margins that sit anywhere from 0 to 10%. These companies also tend to have high debt loads and low recurring revenue. But Enphase, over the past 15 years that it's been in business, has clearly bucked this trend by investing in a supporting technology for this rapidly growing market. Enphase's stock has over tripled since going public in 2012 and more than 10x since its bottom in 2017. Alongside Tesla, this has been one of the best performing stocks, period, in the mid-cap to large-cap tech space, at least here in the United States. However, with higher interest rates in 2022 and a somewhat slowing solar installation market, many questions have been raised about the sustainability of Enphase's progress. And although in the short term there are numerous headwinds such as California's new net metering laws and general slowdown in consumer spending, I think Enphase is still quite a strong and attractive investment opportunity. On all these news, Enphase stock is now down more than 35% year to date after falling by 25% after its previous earnings report. And all of this because shipments fell by 21% year over year for the first quarter, while revenues for Enphase grew by just 2%. Although on paper this looks like a very contrasting result, there's a really important reason for why this is happening, and that is simple inventory buildup. Essentially, with higher rates bottlenecking the loans that most residential homeowners can get to install solar panels, there's been an increased delay in when installers are installing these and in when revenue is being recognized by Enphase. Although this is certainly not an optimal result, it is certainly a short-term result resulting from decade-high rates. Unfortunately for most investors, those interest rates are expected to stabilize and or come down over the next 2 to 3 years as inflation has clearly started to subside. And this paired with the extremely strong fundamentals of Enphase, paired with the insane tailwinds for the overall solar market through the Inflation Reduction Act, create a very attractive investment opportunity, in my opinion at least, in Enphase stock right now. And why exactly do I believe that? Well, not only is Enphase still growing revenues by north of 60% year over year, but they're still giving out insane amounts of free cash flow, to a point where right now their share dilution is less than 1% of their free cash flow per share growth, which is typically an extremely good sign. Yes, folks, with the valuation having come down so much so far this year, the forward P of Enphase is actually even cheaper at around $24, with a price to free cash flow of 30, which puts it way below that of an equivalent Tesla that is trading north of 100 PE. And not only does Enphase have a better gross margin and equivalent profit margin as Tesla, but they're also growing at a faster pace in a market that is much less competitive than the EV space. And that paired with the fact that Enphase is only just starting to expand into Europe and Australia creates an exciting revenue growth opportunity over the next couple of years, and given the correction in the stock valuation, an exciting investment opportunity as well. But as usual, folks, that is just my take on the situation. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below on the solar industry. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.